If you're into videos about supernatural phenomena, unsolved mysteries, and true crime, you've come to the right channel. We upload new videos 2 to 3 times a week, so if this sounds like the content you enjoy, make sure to hit the like button, subscribe, and turn on all notifications so you never miss any of our weekly uploads. Now, let's dive into the video. The mist hung thick in the early morning air, creeping through the trees and curling over the rolling hills of Adams, Tennessee. It was 1817, and the small community, nestled along the Red River, was known for its peacefulness. The Bell family, John and Lucy, lived on a large farm, raising their children and working the land, content with their lives. But something was about to change, something that would cast a dark shadow over their home, a mystery that would haunt them for years to come. It would be known as the Tale of the Bell Witch, a name that would forever be etched in the lore of the American South. John Bell was a respected farmer, known for his integrity and generosity. He had moved to Tennessee from North Carolina with his family to build a better life. For several years, everything seemed to go well. The farm flourished, the family grew, and John was well regarded in the community. But in the fall of 1817, strange occurrences began. It started with small things, odd noises at night, whispers in the dark that seemed to come from nowhere, and an uneasy feeling that settled over the farm as if the very air had thickened with dread. The first truly disturbing event happened one evening while John Bell was walking through his cornfield. He noticed a strange creature lurking between the rows. It was unlike anything he had ever seen before. A dog-like figure with the head of a rabbit, its eyes glowing in the twilight. Startled, John raised his rifle and fired, but the creature disappeared into thin air as if it had never been there. Confused and shaken, John hurried back to his house, but he kept the incident to himself, hoping it was just a trick of the light or his mind playing tricks on him. But the strange happenings didn't stop there. At night, the Bell family began hearing knocking sounds on the walls of their log house. The noise seemed to come from within, yet there was no one there. Then came the sounds of scratching, as if invisible claws were raking the wood. At first, John tried to dismiss it, but soon the disturbances became too frequent to ignore. Objects in the house would move on their own. Chairs would shift across the floor, utensils would clatter to the ground, and doors would slam shut without warning. Lucy Bell, a kind and pious woman, tried to comfort the children, who were becoming increasingly terrified. Young Betsy Bell, their daughter, was especially affected. She would wake in the middle of the night screaming, her body covered in red welts, as if she had been struck by unseen hands. The family was at a loss. They prayed for protection, hoping the strange events would cease, but instead, they grew worse. The Bell children began hearing voices, faint at first, like distant murmurs in the wind. Soon, the voice grew clearer, a disembodied woman's voice, mocking and cruel. It would sing hymns in a slow, eerie tone, twisting the sacred into something sinister. Sometimes it would curse at John Bell, taunting him, calling him names and laughing at his discomfort. It seemed to revel in the family's fear, feeding on their terror like some kind of malevolent force. Word spread quickly through the town, and curious neighbors came to witness the strange events for themselves. Some were skeptical, believing the family had fallen victim to hysteria or that someone was playing an elaborate prank. But when they too heard the knocks, the voices, and saw objects moving on their own, the skepticism faded into fear. As the haunting intensified, the entity seemed to grow more powerful. It would slap, pinch, and pull Betsy's hair, leaving her in tears. On one occasion, it even yanked her out of bed and threw her to the floor. The Bell Witch, as it came to be known, seemed to have a particular hatred for John and Betsy. It tormented them relentlessly, night after night. Yet, strangely, it showed kindness toward Lucy, often leaving her gifts of fruit and singing to her in a soft, soothing voice. The reason for this favoritism was never understood. Desperate for answers, John Bell sought help from the community. He invited ministers and neighbors to pray over the house, but their efforts seemed to have little effect. The haunting continued unabated. The Bell Witch would often interrupt the prayers, mocking the clergy and laughing at their attempts to banish it. The mysterious voice seemed to know things it shouldn't, private conversations, secrets only the family would know. It could carry on long, intelligent conversations and would often engage visitors, answering questions and recounting stories. It claimed to be many things: a restless spirit, a Native American buried on the land, and at times, something far darker. The entity's true identity remained elusive, and its purpose even more so. But one thing was clear: it had no intention of leaving the Bell family in peace. As months turned into years, the haunting took a darker turn. John Bell's health began to deteriorate. He suffered from strange fits, his face would twitch uncontrollably, and he complained of a burning sensation in his throat. The witch took credit for his illness, cackling with glee whenever he fell into one of his spells. It would taunt him, saying it would see to his demise. And indeed, John's condition worsened over time. He grew weaker, bedridden, unable to escape the torment of the unseen force that seemed intent on destroying him. In December of 1820, John Bell finally succumbed to his mysterious illness. The morning of his death, the family found a strange vial of liquid near his bedside, a substance they had never seen before. When they tested it on a cat, the animal died almost instantly. The witch's voice rang through the house, claiming responsibility for the poison that had killed John Bell. "I fixed his medicine," it said gleefully. With his death, it seemed the witch had achieved her goal. Even after John Bell was laid to rest, the witch continued to torment the family, particularly Betsy. The entity seemed to take great delight in sabotaging her life, preventing her from marrying her fiancé, Joshua Gardner. Betsy eventually broke off the engagement, worn down by the relentless harassment. Then, as suddenly as it had begun, the haunting started to fade. The Bell Witch's appearances became less frequent, the noises less persistent. By 1821, it seemed to vanish altogether, leaving the Bell family in relative peace. But before it left, the entity promised to return in 7 years. True to its word, in 1828 the witch briefly returned, but the haunting was less intense. It visited John Bell Jr. this time, engaging in philosophical discussions about life, the universe, and the spirit world. Then, as before, it vanished, though some claimed the witch would return again in 107 years. The tale of the Bell Witch remains one of the most famous hauntings in American history. Skeptics have tried to explain the events as hysteria, pranks, or exaggerated folklore, but for those who lived through it, the terror was all too real. Even today, the Bell Witch legend endures, with many claiming that the spirit still lingers in the area, haunting the land where the Bell farm once stood. Some say that on quiet nights, if you stand near the old Bell property, you can still hear the faint sound of knocking on the walls, or the eerie whispers of a disembodied voice drifting through the trees. Whether the Bell Witch was a vengeful spirit, a manifestation of something darker, or simply a mystery that will never be fully explained, its legacy continues to captivate and terrify those who dare to explore the darker side of American folklore.